Pan-Yoruba Socio-Political Association, Afenifere, and the Ohanaeze Ndigbo Worldwide have disagreed over the Supreme Court judgment that granted total financial autonomy to local governments in Nigeria. This is coming after the Supreme Court declared that it is unconstitutional for state governors to hold funds allocated to local government administrations, adding that a state government has no power to appoint a caretaker committee, while a local government council is only recognizable with a democratically elected government. Meanwhile, Afenifere, in a statement by the National Public Secretary, Chief Ayo Adebanjo and Prince Justice Foloye, described the Apex Court's judgment as a mere judicial conspiracy in cahoots with the President Tinubu administration against the Nigerian state and its foundational principles of federalism. However, the National Publicity Secretary of Ohanaeze Ndigbo Worldwide, Alex Ogbonnaya, said the judgment will enhance development across the country, stressing that Ohanaeze was interested in grassroots development. Ndamzi, what is your take on this? Both of them are holding different perspectives. Afenifere, interestingly, is saying that it's judicial conspiracy in cahoots with the executive. And then Ohanaeze Ndigbo is saying that this is in line with good governance. What is your take?
Yes, the Supreme Court judgment is in line with good governance because, like we stated before, the governors do not have the constitutional powers to appoint caretaker committees. They only derived the powers because of what Section 7 said. Section 7, Sub 1 said there shall be a democratically elected local government administration in Nigeria. While if you go down below the section, it now mandates the states to make laws on how they will govern the various local governments in their states. So, you see, that now gives the National Assembly, States Assembly power to make laws to govern the local government in their state, which also include like what is in our local government law number 5 of 2018. Section 9(2) says the governor can appoint a caretaker committee in the event where the State Electoral Commission didn't bring out timetable for election 3 months to expiration of the tenure of the local government. So at that point, you see, for example, here in Rivers State, what has happened. The State Electoral Commission did not notify about conduct of election before the expiration of the tenure, possibly because of all the judicial, all the crisis going on in the state. So now they have notified that they will conduct election in October. So ordinarily, the law mandating them allows them to notify the various political parties 3 months to the expiration of the tenure. So governors are really, looking at that section which gives them powers to make laws about how the local government is run. So you see, that now it's in total opposition with what the Constitution ordinarily holds in Section 7, Sub 1, which says there shall be a democratically elected local government administration in Nigeria. So that means it is time to strip the governors of that power. Because if we strip them, when I mean we, Nigerians, in quote, strip the governors the powers on how to make laws governing the local government administration, they will not rely on any section of the law again to have control of the local government. The local government will now stand on its own to bring about the development meant for the local people. Because the idea of the local government administration in Nigeria is to bring governance
to grassroots,
closer to the people. Okay? But with what has happened over time, you see that aim was defeated totally. So we hail the Supreme Court judgment because the Supreme Court judgment is like having interpreted that section and declared it null and void. That is to say, the Supreme Court have liberated the local government administration from the whims and caprices of the governors.
Right.
Because the governors are too powerful. They use the local government thing like settling their errand boys in the various local government and holding a grip on the people. So kudos to the judgment.
Of the state,
yes,
by extension.
kudos to Supreme Court for giving that landmark judgment.
All right. Now, another concern they were raised, the first, when we discussed this earlier with regards to caretaker chairman in Rivers State, I brought up the concern around Jack, right? Now, the second concern being raised from different quarters is on true federalism. Now, people were saying that true federalism is between the federal and the states, not between the federal, the state, and the local government. However, the Nigerian constitution recognizes 3 tiers of government, and the constitution clearly states that these 3 tiers of government are independent. Now, a lot of persons were saying that, these are arguments that this Supreme Court judgment is not in line with true federalism. And I am asking, according to Nigerian constitution, don't we have 3 tiers of independence, 3 tiers of governments working independently? If the judgment was in line to further, solidify the independence of the local government, how is it against federalism or true federalism, as the case may be?
Yes, you see, the problem is it's a fundamental one.
Okay.
Fundamental in the sense that there are flaws in the Constitution. It's very obvious that the Constitution needs proper amendment. Because defining the 3 tiers of government in our Constitution, federal, state, and local government, then you went ahead in section 162, sub 6, and gave a state joint account wherein the governors receive the money, then disburse. So you now see them withholding funds of perceived political enemies. It has happened over time. It has become a norm in our system. So something is fundamentally wrong with our Constitution. This is a fact we need to own up and act on it squarely. Thank God the review is still ongoing. So it's a time the people should speak up.
All right.
Nigerians should speak up and tell the National Assembly what they want in the Constitution. Because the Constitution should be people's constitution, not constitution meant for a particular section of the country. It is the people's constitution. So the people should take part in making the Constitution.
Right. What is your take, sir, on this issue?
Yeah, I think that any discourse on federalism, particularly regards to how it applies in Nigeria, should trace its roots to the proponents of that concept, federalism. For instance, Casey Ware defined federalism as a system of government that has 2 coordinate but independent tiers of government, which draw their powers from the Constitution. In fact, they operate within their constitutional powers as allotted to them by the Constitution. And in our country here, because federalism is like a spectrum, we have added our own type of Nigerian federalism, aside from the proponents of federalism, to have the 3rd tier. And in 1966, local government was recognized constitutionally as a 3rd tier of government, meaning that it enjoyed the same jurisdiction powers as given to it by the Constitution. It has its own autonomy. In fact, by that arrangement, no tier of government should usurp the functions and roles of the other tier as allotted to them by the Constitution. There should be devolution of powers and functions to the two tiers of government. And just like Inland rightly pointed out, rather than follow that, there was what I call a twist in the Constitution, where it was provided there should be joint state account. That is a clear usurpation of the autonomy of local government, and it's playing out now. So I think that there will be constitutional review in that regard. But be that as it may, we also look at the fact that, you know, in Nigeria, we operate 40 federal system of government, and that is emanating from the kind of politics we operate in. Politics, ethnic politics, nepotism, politics of bitterness and rancor, politics of what we call primitive accumulation in political science, where the actor does still see the state and its appearance as means of amassing wealth. It's affecting the kind of federalism we're operating. Okay, take for instance, federalism also demands that, or requires that, you know, the different tiers of government, the different component units should control their resources. They should. That's what happened even in America, where we borrow that type of system. They test the community, even the communities. In fact, I should go down to the communities, where they have to, you know, control their resources. What was happening in the First Republic when agriculture was the mainstay of Nigerian economy? Because those who, you know, controlled the power at that time were from these three major ethnic groups. For instance, groundnut was controlled by the North. And we had a groundnut pyramid in those days. Cocoa was controlled by the West. And of course, palm produce and rubber in the East. These were the people, or the areas where people who controlled the machine of government came from. And the tenet of federalism was strictly applied. You may call that true federalism, right? But as soon as oil was discovered in the minority area, what happened? They took it away and decided to manipulate that provision to the extent that they said all land belonged to government. They came up with the obnoxious Land Use Decree, which is now Land Use Act. The federal government became the big brother that shares. All revenues from oil went to the federation account. The federal government was the sharer. Even up to today, they're still sharing. Revenue mobilization and fiscal this, that. This is absolute aberration of federal principle. So if we want to have true federalism, let's also attack it from this perspective. We should not apply selective application. You know, you apply in this area and then you live in the other area. It's against true federalism. As far as I'm concerned, that is true federalism. It's not that environmental factors may have slight differences in the way they are being applied, but there are basic tenets and principles of federalism which we should not overlook, which we should not abandon. Part of what is also causing crises, separatist movement, people want to go their separate way, is because rather than have a federal system of government that will give a sense of belonging to all the component units, we are selective. Ethnicity, nepotism. People are not given a sense of belonging. So that has also, you know, ultimately led to the general insecurity, especially in the southeast now. It used to be in the Niger Delta, where they were asking for the resource control. And you know, all that led to the, you know, the kind of insecurity we have in this country. It's because government has refused to hear the call for true federalism. And look at how it's affecting. Now, Supreme Court, as the other world, you have to do this now, allow the local government to control their fund, let fund be paid directly to local government coffers. How about resource control? How about resource control? So the earlier we do all that and apply strictly the fundamental tenets and principles, praxis of federalism, the better for us.
All right.
Otherwise, we'll be meshed in this kind of political imbroglio.
All right. Ndamzi, what do you have to say in conclusion?
Yes, in conclusion, I would advocate that the AG, the Attorney General of the Federation, just like he made a very good move of, you know, asking the Supreme Court to allow local government autonomy. He should as well, in the interest of good governance in the country, he should as well file a suit asking the Supreme Court to interpret the Constitution about true federalism, which will in turn bring about resource control. We want to see that so that we will continue hailing the federal government like we hail them now on the move they made to Supreme Court that brought about the LG autonomy.
Right.
We want to also see resource control by the various segments of the country so that the true federalism, we will have a proper federalism in the country.
Right.
Then at last the common man will be able to say, yes, of a truth, we are practicing true federalism in Nigeria.
All right. And you think this would be a solution to the call for regional government?
Yes, it will really,
it will douse the call for regional
tension,
government. All right.
You know, in the northeast, and it will also encourage bringing back security in the northeast.
All right.
And the southeast.
All right. Thank you so much, Ndamzi, for coming on Open Conversation. It's always a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming, sir. It's a pleasure having you as well.
Thank you very much.
All right.